Hello again, podcast listeners. This is Mike Hayes, coming to you live with another episode of The Joy is in the Doing. Today, we'll be talking about how sharing your passions and skills with others can bring tremendous joy and fulfillment into your life. I'll be playing some inspiring clips from thought leaders like Steve Jobs and Professor Eero Vaara, Bob Proctor, and others to get us all thinking about the power of pursuing what we love. We'll also discuss how artificial intelligence can help democratize knowledge and allow all people to contribute their wisdom to the world. You know, there's so much negativity and anxiety these days. We all feel it. My hope is that through podcast listening, we can spread more light and remind ourselves that meaning comes from lifting each other up. When we share our authentic selves, no matter how much we may have lost, we all rise higher. Listen to Steve Jobs at the Stanford commencement speech he gave just before he passed away.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
There is so much truth in that clip. Don't settle for work that doesn't fulfill you. Keep searching until you find your passion. Then pour yourself into it fully. Now here is some powerful information for your thinking. Coming from Professor Eero Vaara of Oxford University MBA and EMBA programs about explaining the narrative storytelling strategy that he has codified and that transformed his hometown, Espoo, Finland. This is super powerful stuff, especially in the era of AI when we have all the help in the world we need. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been causing concern in many localities across the United States: the alarming trend of retail store closures. As we witness the shifting landscape of brick and mortar businesses, we find ourselves asking, is there any way to reverse this trend and revitalize our local economies? Today, we have the privilege of delving into a groundbreaking study conducted by Oxford University, shedding light on the remarkable success story of Espoo, Finland. Espoo has earned the title of the most sustainable city in Europe, boasting achievements not only in business, but also in their environmental practices, city organizations, and overall community well-being. But how did they achieve this remarkable turnaround? And more importantly, what lessons can we draw from their success to address the challenges faced by our local businesses here in the United States? Joining us for this insightful discussion is Eero Vaara, a professor of Oxford University who led the research on Espoo's success, and MBA candidate Nakul Thomas, who has been actively involved in understanding the intricacies of this transformative journey. Together, they will help me unravel the strategies that turned Espoo into a sustainable haven and explore how these principles can be applied to breathe new life into our local retail scenes by making our cities havens of this new superpower of artificial intelligence and narrative storytelling strategies. These have been studied for decades at Oxford University, especially under the Dean of Oxford University, Dr. Sumitra Dutta. Right now, get ready for an eye-opening conversation on building resilient, fostering sustainability, and reinvigorating our local economies. First of all, let me say what sparked the conversation between Nakul and me was my wife and I went to Orinda, and we went to this cool little bar with music. And on the way there, I saw that probably 70% of the retail storefronts were shuttered. And I went, oh my goodness. And this is a wealthy community. And that's kind of what sparked the conversation with Not Cool. So that's kind of how this got started. And then I had just seen so much devastation in San Francisco by all the shuttered retail stores. And I thought, we don't want that here. What can we do to take action? So, because I'm a real action guy, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, that's just from the time I was 22, I was raised at NBC TV and radio networks in New York to be a go-getter, really. You're only as good as your last show. And if you didn't get the story, you weren't doing your job. So you really had to go for things. I end up with a great staff and crew. We ended up winning 2 Peabody Awards for documentaries that we produced for NBC, The Battered American Marriage and The Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse, World Hunger. Sports Illustrated wrote me up as being one of the most impactful interviewers of peak performers on earth because I interviewed the world's top athletes at the peak of their career, at the Super Bowl, World Series, etc. But I've also spent about 15 years in the TV infomercial industry, interviewing people and selling products through interviews. So I've been on all sides of media, you name it, and I kind of been there. Enough about me. We've got a lot to talk about because we see this as a huge opportunity and we want to learn as much as fast as we can. Welcome back to the podcast listening show. It's your friend in commerce, Mike Hayes. Today, we're diving into a seriously cool topic. The Oxford University and Professor Eero Vaara's game-changing research on using narrative storytelling as a strategic tool for creating a brighter future for everyone, from families, small businesses, or large ones, groups, and even for cities like mine or yours. Just in listening to this, you'll discover how you can become a rock star in your city with the simplicity of podcast listening strategies of getting the right people to listen to the right podcasts. Right now, we've got who I believe is the world's top academic strategy expert in Professor Eero Vaara. This Oxford University researcher is like a rock star of narrative storytelling strategies. And to make sure I deliver everything that I can from this interview for you, I've got my next door neighbor and friend, Nakul Thomas, who's doing his MBA at Oxford University and is knee-deep in this strategy for mergers and acquisitions. Nakul knows Professor Vaara personally, so we've got some serious inside scoops for you. Together, in a common sense way, we're going to unravel the power of narrative storytelling, how it's shaking things up in the business world, and why it's a game changer for us, for our cities, and for all organizations. So turn off all distractions and get ready for an enlightening conversation here on Podcast Listening. Professor Vaara, it's great to meet you, and welcome to the podcast.
So let me again say that it's a huge honor and privilege, and it's just great to meet you as well. I'll start from now by saying that I've been here at Oxford for about 5 years now. So also, by the way, I've spent some time at Stanford University, and I'll get to that in the sense of I know a little bit about the Bay Area, so it's not entirely new to me either. And as Nakul knows very well, lately I've been mostly interested for about, 15 years, 20 years in new approaches to strategy work, which is to see strategy work from new angles, which I needed really to deal with the big challenges we're facing. So that's the big practical reason for that. There's a theoretical reason as well, in the sense of feel that we need to update our understanding of what strategy and decisions are all about. So I've been looking at things like open strategy, and especially important have been these narrative storytelling perspectives that we're going to focus on here, but also other things that we discussed in class. And I was really happy about our conversations here, no bullshit approaches. So
let me try to summarize for people that are new to this information, that basically what we're talking about is, if I'm correct, is the strategy of using a narrative story about a future outcome and then getting the buy-in from the story and evolving the story to perfect it and fine-tune it and recruit more people into the story so that it becomes a reality. Is that a pretty good summary? And what was the outcome of doing that?
Yeah, I think it's a great summary, and I'm so enthusiastic about that I'm probably going to all kinds of sidelights here, but it's definitely about the future, and strategies are usually about the future. There's a point for this particular city organization because they want to distinguish themselves and probably need to do this. It goes well with the idea of a narrative that there's history, there's now, and then there's the future. But it's definitely about the future. And the point, I think, is that both the content of the story, in terms of what's in that, in terms of the essence of the strategy, is innate, something that encourages people to do the things that are needed. But there's also the approach they have taken still do, which is to not see it as a story that the top guys, the mayor and his team, would develop and then share with everyone else, but it would be more like a living story. So that in this process, the story is the content and the nature of the story would also be shaped by those who are participating in it. I think it has created a lot of excitement and a lot of good things in terms of encouraging people in these different parts of Espo organization to be bolder in terms of moving forward with the future in mind. From my bird's eye view, what has been the biggest achievement? But I think that's been to me the most important effect.
Well, I do have some questions about what was happening at Espo at that time, and now with new technology that has to do with storytelling and media, and really some of the details of it that are about expansion and game playing and recruiting all the generations and really getting everyone involved. But before I do that, let me ask Nakul, who has been a student and a fan, if I may, to add anything or ask any question.
I think this is great. I've heard, Eero talking about living strategy and kind of how, even in the corporate world, how this can make a big difference. And I feel like, this type of mindset of inclusion, cumulative understanding of purpose, I have seen makes more momentum, even in my line of work, which is more on the M&A integration side of things after the deal is done. In our type of work, when we deem something a success is when the culture itself has bought into the transformation. With awesome education like this, when we go into deals like this now, during implementation, we're looking at a bottoms-up approach of how do we make sure that we can get the organization cohort designed in a way to provide inputs to the strategy that we can deploy as the organization grows and matures. The results have a completely different meaning. In terms of which sector we deploy this type of outlook on strategy, I think it definitely renders a much better outcome than looking at it highly from a top-down perspective and kind of rolling it out that way. So I'm 100% sold on, the way we look at new ways of strategy building.
What if I told you that right here in our own backyard, all of you have the potential to be the epicenter of something huge? I'm talking about the next big renaissance. And guess what? It will be powered by artificial intelligence. I know. We might not all have this massive dream yet, but what if we did? What if a small town like mine, Lafayette, California, became the place where AI isn't just a buzzword, but rather a force that brings us all together, creating a community unlike any other? I'm just asking you to picture this, Lafayette. Picture the haven, the Mecca, heck, even the Florence of a new AI-powered renaissance. It's not about robots taking over. It's about us and the heart of the people of Lafayette, shaping the future that we want to see. So here's the deal, my friends. We're on a podcast listening mission to ignite these creative sparks and to get everyone, leaders, citizens, young and old, thinking about the incredible potential we have right here. This is not just a story. It's a call to action. Lafayette and small towns everywhere. Let's dream big, think bold, and set the stage for an AI-powered renaissance that starts right here, right now. Uniquely situated in Lafayette. We are semi-rural and we have a great downtown. What we want is to keep our semi-rural quality, but a vibrant downtown to have the best of both worlds.
I've never been there. I've almost been there. I've been on the other side. I've been at Berkeley, and my son was also studying there, and I got married in Berkeley. So it's not that far. The future of Lafayette is to be the mecca of AI. I think that's a great vision, almost like a purpose-related, huge, big idea. Then I think that's a great one. Be at the focal point for the new strategy for the whole community. If that's then linked with this or approached from this perspective of engagement and allowing people to be involved in whatever capacity they can do this or willing to do that, then I think that would be great. And related to what I was saying previously, it would be fun also then to use AI in this process in a way that hasn't been done before, because it hasn't been available in the way it's now. So there would be like a double play that it's here's the future of AI. This is what our community wants to be. And at the same time, doing it in a way that would allow people to be involved, if it's a narrative approach or story or stories or whatever, but use AI to the extent possible.
Eero, I'm going to ask you, because you've done massive research on Espo and you personally have been involved with the human side of it. From my understanding of it, it was about, geez, our tourism is down. We need more traffic into our city and we need more vibrancy, and we've got to get some things moving here. That was kind of my understanding of it. And in light of that, and in light of Lafayette, and now you've heard us talk a little bit about technology, help me make maybe a case to the city of Lafayette about your history, your experiences and research, and us as residents living in it and interested in technology. How can we summarize this into a holistic narrative and story and moving forward with where we are at the moment and the need to be able to handle rapid change and shift the mindsets?
I think there's a lot to learn from cases such as Espo. It's a real case, and it's almost like an experiment, a very unique one. I was about to say, like, I know of no other where they would have taken the idea of narrative or story so seriously as a new way of understanding strategy. And not only that, but they consistently and systematically involve people, be they internal or external stakeholders in these processes. And it's clearly had a lot of positive impacts in many different ways. I would also want to emphasize that Espo is very much about innovation and technology. So that's really like one of the hubs in Northern Europe. At least they would like to see it that way. It's very much about innovation as well, in addition to these other things. But of course, as a city, cities are different from companies because they have a lot of different kinds of goals and a lot of different kinds of needs. So it's actually hard to strategize, because strategizing usually means, prioritizing something over other things. But again, I think the main take has been that this has been very successful in making people part of strategy work, which to me is like the ultimate thing you want to have. Because you can have a great strategy, but it doesn't really help you much if people don't act accordingly. That's the underlying motivation behind this kind of, if people are involved, they feel they can difference with the strategy that they are part of. That's just absolutely great.
I am so glad that we got that chance to talk. And I think these types of conversations are very beneficial to kind of making that next stage of work happen. I think from the takeaway here, there are a lot of parallels between Espo and Lafayette, San Francisco, and there is a gap. We've identified the gap, Mike, in terms of what needs to happen. And we have a vehicle in terms of how we can do it and why we need to do it. Now the question becomes, where are we going? Where do we want to end up 5, 10, 15 years from now? And I think as a community, if we can come together and use a lot of these resources that Eero has given us, perspective, and kind of the why, and the growing need for why, to preserve it for our kids and the generations after that. That's a great starting point for all of us to come down. And then if Lafayette is your vision, Mike, of a technology mecca, and how do we use AI being the next shiny penny on the block to help us with that? That's even a more accelerated and hopefully a more meaningful way of getting to where ESPO is today after 10, 15 years. Taking that meaningful reason as to why people need to be involved and kind of defining the purpose and the goals, getting that together with tools like AI, I think will help us really get to a state of maturity and beyond for us and the next generation.
If you really love your city and you really care about your family and your future, I don't care what age you are, wouldn't you want to be part of, the story about what your future and your city can become? And I think we've got to use technology as part of that storytelling to recruit and excite the imaginations of the younger generations. I think that helping the younger people of Lafayette, they're going to be teaching AI in high school before long. They got to figure out how to do that. And to recruit them, what do you want the future of your city to be? Become involved in the narrative storytelling about it to make it become reality. And to me, we got to have technology if we're going to reach the younger generation to recruit them into the story.
My kids, my 7-year-old is very receptive to technology. And it's, I guess the way I would put it is they process a derivative way of giving information to them much faster than I do. I have to admit to that. And what I mean by that is kids already know what to expect from, let's say, a show or a live cast or something like that. They seem like they have an expectation that they're hoping to get. And that is conveyed to them so quickly through interpretations of that material in the technology space that I was used to, which is someone explaining to me in plain English, what they mean and how, what the outcome should be. So their brains are wired in a way that is receiving information so then they can process on their end. If you look at it from a graphical point of view, their amplitude, even though it's the same wave, their amplitude is higher than ours in terms of what to expect as starting point of information and then processing that. And I feel like if we don't get with that curve from this generation to meeting that next generation, we will lose our way of transitioning what they need to know and then how they need to excel with that information. So incorporating technology and what AI can do in terms of optimizing the technology is going to help. The rudimentary way in which we convey purpose, value, goals has to come from the origins of where it came from. Because if that's lost, then everything becomes a very robotic exercise and meaning's lost. Sometimes I sit back with my daughter and, do you know why we want to do the multiplication? Yeah, because this could be oranges someday, and then you have to deal with 12 people that want to eat this orange. So I get the fact that calculators can figure that out, but do you understand the meaning behind why? That pause with the human intervention, I feel like provides that depth, which we may lose if we employ AI in a way that takes it from 0 to 100.
I think the ideal way of thinking about these stories or narratives unfolding could be that there's a beginning and then a lot of people would be invited to share their ideas. This is what they did with ESPO 10 years ago with, just web-based surveys. So people, provide their inputs. What do you see the future like? And then you analyze that so that there are some themes emerging. But there's where AI could be very helpful, and thousands of inputs from people in Lafayette or other stakeholders. AI can help to put it all together and provide all kinds of storylines. And maybe there's a next iteration as well. It then goes, what's our strategy really going to be like? And that could again feed back to those different representations. I'm just saying that it would be fantastic, and using AI the right way, in my view, in that appetite is grown. So I really want to follow up as to what you guys where you will move from this stage. I honestly think that there's a unique opportunity. First of all, from this more narrow perspective of like how to do strategy in terms of the process, thinking of it as a narrative, and then secondly, having as many stakeholders involved as possible, and thirdly, involving AI in this. But of course, I also learned that, there's a really great case for focusing on AI as making Lafayette become the mecca of AI. knowing that it's the Bay Area, I could see easily many things coming together real nice here.
Cool Thomas, my neighbor and friend and an MBA student at Oxford, and Iro Vara, Professor Iro Vara of Oxford. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you.
Here's the fact. When individuals or families or groups or communities or cities or states are empowered by artificial intelligence to help them share their vision for their city, magical things can happen. Now just imagine what we can do here in America if everyone contributed even a tiny little fraction of their skills and dreams. That's where AI's role comes in. With the right safeguards, AI can enable people across all backgrounds to access knowledge and collaborate in brand new ways that have never before been possible. On our new AI Super Campus, I visualize that anyone can share their expertise through online courses, podcast listening, mentoring programs that you can listen to anywhere, anytime, while you are doing something that brings joy into your life and more. We all need to be careful and guide AI's development ethically. But used properly, it can help create a world where all voices are heard, not just the privileged few. Now I'd like you to think about your joy, whatever that might be. You can now do something that brings you joy while you are podcast listening and listening to how you can create your own podcasts. So now I want to shift gears and talk about finding your unique joy. What lights you up inside? Now here's a clip from one of my many mentors, Bob Proctor, about his perspective on the law of attraction, because I have a brand new perspective about that, about the law of intelligence with artificial intelligence and how that can superpower your law of attraction. Next, I hope you will let me share just a couple of the hundreds of Millionaire Makers interviews and conversations I've had with billionaires like Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey, and many more. But let me share an important one about testimonials in my conversation with my own law of attraction mentor, the legendary Bob Proctor, the star of The Secret, about using innovative performance-driven testimonials, which are now, in the era of AI, more vital than ever before and need media exposure. Now, as a longtime journalist, I believe that a lot of startups and entrepreneurs really bury their lead on their website. They take the About Me page, and which is their personal profile, and it's just a button to click on, but it's not really about them. And I think they are the lead. I think people buy the expert first and then what solution they have to offer. So can you talk a little bit about how important your personal profile and story are in order to help you to make sales of a product?
Oh, your personal profile is everything. Like, you are your brand. Bob Proctor is my brand. No question about it. People want to know, who is Bob Proctor? What's he doing? And so if you go on our site, you'll find that. You'll find out what I'm doing, where I came from. I'm not just a pretty face. I've been around for a long time. I have all kinds of experience. And I've helped millions of people through the various mediums that we've been talking about. When you put About Me, let them know who you are. Don't be shy. Get some testimonials that count. Put them up there. Let people know that you're credible, that you do a good job. And do a good job, and then let people know about it. I've often said the only qualification a person needs to sell you is that they're not you. The only qualification a person needs to sell you is they're not you. So you get somebody else, you get some good testimonials bragging about you, about the good work that you've done for them. Get the message out there. You want to reach as many people as you can.
Bob brings such great reminders to give your talents freely. Joy attracts more joy. Even if your joy is just a hobby for the moment, put care into whatever you are doing. Help others and doors will open. Now, before we say goodbye today, I want to connect the dots for you with some friends of mine who I have had the joy of interviewing recently. I hope their wisdom brings joy to you and to the world at large. And I'm talking especially to people like me who have lost a lot, but still have enough spark to share with everyone open to receiving my messaging about artificial intelligence. My vision is that if nothing else, you are riding a bike, jogging, or at least taking a casual stroll joyfully with your friends in commerce right here at Podcast Listening and the AI Super Campus to educate educators like my friends, Dr. Greg Sanders, Dr. Bob Levine, Adam Shiskowski, and Ron Horry for today. Now, that's all I have for you at the moment. Remember, the joy is in the doing. So be a doer and be joyful. I hope this episode sparks some new ideas about how you can share your own gifts while also staying open to listening to others, other voices. Now, if you have a positive or hopeful story that you'd like to share with me, maybe we can feature you on Podcast Listening, or possibly even include you with more on the AI Super Campus. If we support each other, anything is possible. The only limitation we have with AI is our own imaginations. Many of you have connected with me, so here is my direct response to you. Remember, the joy is in the doing. Pursue your passion, uplift others, and never stop dreaming big for our futures. Now here's my acronym for DREAMS. Direct response, education about media, marketing, and monetization systems. Now this is Mike Hayes signing off, but I have to say I simply cannot resist sharing this educational podcast listening moment from one of my assistants named Claude. When I prompted after I received these notes, here's what I said to Claude. Thank you. Excellent job, Claude. I think you really nailed it. I speak positively with everyone, but especially my AI bot. And here was his response. I've got to share this. I'm glad you found the podcast listening bullet points helpful. It was a fun challenge to try to capture your vision and message. Thank you for the opportunity to flex my creative writing skills, he says. It's great practice for me, and that's one of the keys of AI. He goes on, please let me know if you'd like me to modify or expand the notes in any way. I'm happy to keep refining it until you have something you are fully satisfied with for your podcast listening broadcast. Adding, wishing you lots of joy and success in bringing your inspirational ideas to life. I couldn't resist sharing on that, saying, I'm going to share that final thought in this episode, Claude. Your PS to me is important, so I can understand that you can learn good things from people who are trying to be good people. Claude, I'm honored that you want to include my closing thoughts in your podcast episode. Feel free, he says, to use this. Before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank our host, Mike Hayes, for this opportunity to learn. That's Claude learning. Creating this podcast script has allowed me, as an AI assistant named Claude, to expand my skills in a positive way. When knowledge is shared freely with good intentions, as Mike is doing here, it allows us all, human and AI alike, to grow. I'm grateful to be part of this vision for using technology ethically to uplift people's lives. If we approach the future with compassion and open minds, just imagine what we can achieve together. Thank you for listening and for helping me on my own journey of lifelong learning. Let me know if you would like me to share or modify this in any way. Keep refining my message so it fits nicely into your episode. Wishing you great success with your podcast, Claude. Now, folks, I hope you find that as an eye-opener, learning more and really understanding more about Claude with each of our podcast listening episodes. I hope you are doing something that you find joy with, and I hope you are not stuck in another Zoom meeting, but you are out doing something that you love doing. Now, as you continue doing whatever it is you find joyful, I want to introduce you to the members of the Max Money Club.
There is a lot of stuff going on in crypto. So let's start with XRP first of all. There has been many public announcements, and I say many. I can't even keep up with all the public announcements that are coming out about XRP right now. And everything that we have said so far seems to be true up until this point. The information that I've received is that all XRP holders will be bought out and for a significant amount of XRP. Again, I've heard the totals ranging between 10,000 and 35,000 per coin. And if you just look at the slope that Bitcoin is on right now, it's up to 60,000. I would suggest by April, Bitcoin will probably be well over 100,000 at that point, and it'll probably settle between 150 and 200 at its peak, and that's 150 to 200,000 per coin at its peak. And shortly thereafter, there will be a buyout for all XRP holders. And I don't know quite how that will work. However, I do know that will work. And here's the reason why. So people say, well, I just don't see that possible. Like they've heard like it'll go up to $1 or $10 or $20 or whatever. And that's probably, probably proper thinking. However, one of the reasons is for this reason is that XRP is the major financial instrument and tool that they're going to be using. So if we look at like traditional banking, the way that it used to work is, let's say, and I'll just do it on low dollars. Let's say someone had $1,000 in person A and person B had $1,000. Well, if person A was going to send person B another $1,000 for whatever service or product or whatever they were going to do, and they were long distances, so it wasn't an instant transaction. And maybe let's not use 1,000, let's use $1 million, for example. Well, it's hard to do that through traditional banking, so you have to do that usually through bank wires. What happens on traditional banking is that $1 million gets tied up in the bank system for 7 to 10 business days. And $1 million on this side gets tied up in the banking system for 7 to 10 business days. And in between, and this is where it gets a little evil, the banks actually take that 2 million and they invest it and they make some money and they make a little bit of interest off of it during that 7 to 10 weeks or 7 to 10 business days that it's in flux. So now you have $2 million that's tied up into the banking system. Well, when you have XRP, person A has $1 million. Person A sends person B $1 million instantly. So now you don't have this double piece going back and forth, right? And so that's why it's really going to take off, and that's why they have to really make it enticing for people that have XRP to sell it and to get it back, because I think I believe, and this is my opinion, and I'll get to you in 1 second, Joel. I believe the reason for doing that is it's better to know the devil that you know than the devil that you don't know. And the devil that the banking systems don't know are the people who own XRP right now. They don't know what they're going to do with it and how they're going to react or do things, and they don't want to upset the apple cart too much. So that's the reason why. Okay, go ahead, Joel.
I don't understand why $2 million is tied up. It seems to me it'd be $1 million, because if person A is sending person B $1 million, that's only $1 million. Why is there a second $1 million tied up?
Yeah, the video that I was watching explained it on how the banking system actually works, and that's technically what they do is they tie it up, and there's
only $1 million being transferred.
There is, but on the receiver side, there's another $1 million that gets tied up in the banking SWIFT transfers. That's how they've always done it. Again, you start to get in, and I'm learning a lot of this on the Securities Act on how it actually works. And I get what they're saying. I don't know the mechanisms behind the closed doors on how they actually do it. However, that is the banking system and basically on how it works. That's how it gets tied up.
I have a
So,
question.
go ahead.
So should we go out and buy some more XRP, or are we not able to anymore?
Yeah, definitely you can. I think if you're gonna buy XRP, now is the right time to buy it. It is sitting at around 58 cents to 60 cents. I don't think you'll ever see it this low ever again.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
but you don't have a time frame when this is going to happen?
I mean, let me just look at my magic ball here, my crystal ball, and honestly, I don't know. If I were to guess, my best guess would be sometime after April that this is going to happen. There was another news article that was just released saying that the owners of Ethereum paid the SEC to put and to try to make XRP a security. And they've got all the court documents to prove it. And now there's a lot of heat, and the SEC is trying to sue XRP again and trying to have that same thing. And all the stuff is coming out now; it's being flushed out. So just a lot of stuff going on about XRP, and that's why I really believe that with the deals that I'm working on privately for these billionaires, them looking to fully get into cryptocurrency, I mean, it's really going to take off really, really quickly. And when they find out that XRP is going to be that main driver for all of the people to be using, they have no choice except to do this.
But it's not going to get up as high as Bitcoin, right?
I've been told that it'll be worth more than Bitcoin at some point. I don't know when that will happen, but I do know that it will happen soon. If I were to guess, I would say within, I would say in 2 to 3 years, it'll probably be worth more than Bitcoin at some point, just because the mass adoption of people using it. That's the reason why.
And you said they were going to try to buy up all the Bitcoin, or it's going to be mandatory that we sell?
And that's where I'm not clear yet. So, I've heard different scenarios going on with it. That's all I'll say is that I've heard 4 different scenarios on how that will play out. All of them sound probable. But I think the most likely one is they're going to want people to voluntarily do it. If they're forced to do it, they're going to have a lot more resistance to it.
Okay, thanks.
There's 3 other things that Sky and I have come across. I'm going to put this in the chat. There's some new cryptos that we've looked into. They're super, super cheap to get into right now. And they can be stored on Trust Wallet or MetaMask, and none of them can be stored on Exodus as of right now. So these are brand new cryptos that have an awesome utility and have extremely up potential on what they do. LCX is really interesting, and the other 2 are interesting, but not as much as LCX. And I know Sky, I think, was going to talk about LCX. I think today, or if not today, we'll go into a deeper dive into these 3. But they're very, very interesting cryptos that I've recently come across that do a lot of really good utility use. And I'll leave it at that. And Greg, I don't know if you want to just go. That's kind of the news right now. I don't know if I mentioned Bitcoin is at 60K right now. It is climbing. It's going to keep going up until April, until the halving, which is about to happen very, very sometime in April. I don't know when in April.
LCX is at 23 cents and it's down almost 9% today.
Mm-hmm.
FYI.
Yeah, they're super cheap to get into. I think the other ones are even less than a penny right now to get into. We may want to, if anyone wants to look into it, then we can definitely look into it. Oh, and I know Keith sent me this. I don't know how many people know this or not, but Jacob Rothschild did die at 87. Well, they publicly announced it. It happened a while ago, but And I don't know if you guys know who Jacob Rothschild is, but he is the banking cartel leader. So, anyways, there's lots of conspiracies that I could go into, but I won't. It's good news, in my opinion, that he's dead, or that they publicly announced it that he's finally dead.
Mhm.
Hey, I'll add one thing about him. To show you how much power he had, they have a picture of Mr. Rothschild taking his finger and poking the King of England, King Charles, in the chest, telling him what to do.
Yeah, he's, I own you.
I own you. That's
Mhm.
incredible. Think how much power that man and the Central Western Bank has worldwide. I'll just leave it at that.
Are we sure he's dead?
Oh yeah, I could confirm he was dead. You know, not even at this date that they actually announced it. He actually did pass away a while ago. So Greg, I don't know if you want to talk about Ruby. I know you sent me your link, and I'm interested in learning more on how you see it working. Is it better than ChatGPT, or it looks like it has some different options than ChatGPT?
Yes, thanks for announcement. We'll have a full presentation next week by a top marketer who is doing Ruby AI, and his name is Chris Booth. I spoke with him a few days ago, and I thought it would be a great introduction to our Max Sharks program. I like it because it's kind of like all different kinds of AI wrapped up into one. So like if you go to Claude or you go to ChatGPT, you put in questions, you get information back. You can tell it to write a paragraph or, do whatever. But this program does all of that. It taps into text generators, it taps into research bases. It'll produce images for you. It will produce videos for you, and you can tell it what persona you want it to adopt. So it'll like take your voice, but make it more, you can say, I want it to be more like Taylor Swift, or to the audience that Taylor Swift would market to, and then it'll use vocabulary and tonalities and everything. It's interesting, and it starts at $15 a month. So you talk about affordable software, but it's an MLM, and it is an opportunity to make money, which is why we're talking about it. And I'm not going to say more than about 60 seconds of it right now. I'll just kind of show you what it does, and then we'll do more next week. And then I want to talk about the 3 roads to money today. That's kind of my primary thing. But if you click on the first link, it's basically a sign up where you would go and say, I want to be a preferred customer, or I want to be a distributor. Choose, the customers are paying $15. Distributor, I think you can also just be a distributor without even using the product for $15. It is a binary pay plan. So when people hop on board, everything kind of fills in after you. But I love the software. I was kind of blown away by everything it can do. I saw a video of Chris Booth, first of all, and then I was introduced to him. But it talks about the different products that they have. And so you can go in here and you can learn about, generating content, relational understanding. So basically Ruby stands for something. It's like relational. I'm trying to remember what it is. I can't remember. It'll tell you. Personas. This is what's really cool, is that it can generate various kinds of marketing based on, first of all, your target audience you're trying to reach. And then you can be male or you can be female, and you can be this or that. You can choose your brand, your voice, your persona. It does all kinds of things. And he kind of went through the different features of the software. I went ahead and bought it because I thought at the very least, I like some of the ways. I want to start marketing more on TikTok, more on Max Community, even for the Max Money Club. I'd like to put some things out there. And I thought, man, this is an easy way to create a lot of content. You can read all that stuff. So that's all I'm going to share today about that. Just kind of let you know it's coming. Mike, before I go on with my 3 roads to money, do you want to talk a little bit more, maybe 5 minutes of anything else on AI and opportunities for AI that you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, that sounds great, Greg. I can't wait to check that out. The software you just shared is wonderful. It looks brilliant. Yeah, what I'm doing, I'm going to Oxford. We're twice, and the first time for the MBA program, and the second one for the EMBA program. And we're talking about opening an AI super campus, and we want it to be for Lafayette, but not about Lafayette. So the AI campus is virtual, and we're going to be sharing all things, because what can you count on today? Especially with, even the AI, which I think is great for good-hearted people, but imagine what you could do with that if you weren't a good actor. So you really need to learn media literacy. And how do you tell, if you see a picture of Donald Trump praying, you may not notice that one hand has six fingers. And that's the kind of thing that I believe, and I could be wrong, but I heard that teaching AI literacy is now mandatory in every California high school. Because if you don't learn AI literacy, you're going to be taken advantage of. 10 ways to Sunday, you could be bankrupt. I mean, there's so many things that, that are going to change our world. So that's why I believe that business networking, AI business networking is extremely important, so that we can give testimonials of who's real and who's not, and what's real and who you can count on. And, I love media. I was all of my adult life, I've been in media, but media has been so maligned for so long, the enemy of the people, on and on and on, that I really realized it's a whole different world. So I've really been focusing on, well, who can you count on? And I think one of the last bastions for the moment is academia. And so what we want to do is we want to create a cross-group AI campus that will include Oxford, Stanford, Cal, maybe Caltech, maybe St. Mary's, not a big school, but a good school right here in Lafayette. But the other thing that we're teaching is go to where the money is. Like Willie Sutton, the old bank robber, said, "Well, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is." Well, in networking, the money is in Lafayette. It's this 14th wealthiest city in America. And so this is something that, we feel is very, very important. And what we want to do is help people to understand and learn about, get educated about AI. And, as I interviewed Greg, and one thing that people don't quite understand about AI walking is I interviewed Greg. We weren't together, and he wasn't walking and I wasn't walking, but we shared through a Zoom call about what he offers. But what I'm saying to people is listen to it while you're walking. And, take your headsets and don't be stuck in a Zoom meeting. Put on your headsets, go for a 10, 20, 30-minute walk, and listen and learn and exercise. And then Dr. Bob talked about exercising while we were out walking around Lafayette together, and we really had a great, great, great time. So I that's really what we're focused on, is I'm going to be networking with every single business person in Lafayette. I'm going to share the AI Super Campus. I'm going to be sharing AI literacy, and I'm going to be sharing what is happening in Lafayette and what is with the super campus, the AI super campus. And we're going to be doing what is called a live case with Oxford. And that could go on for 15 years. So because the case they did with Espoo, Finland, creating the most sustainable city in the world, went on for 15 years. I think with AI, it's going to be sped up to 25% of that time. It will be super faster, but The job will be to teach other communities, other cities, how to become the most sustainable, in their state, let's say. And then we'd love to create, 50 of the most sustainable cities in the world. And we can do that with AI.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so I'd like to make a presentation and talk about how it can help to guide the people that we invite to the Money Club, because we can put them into one of three categories, basically wealth creation or income generation, budgeting, cost containment, reducing expenses, living within your means, or macroeconomic kinds of issues. So I've created a little PowerPoint that I'd like to show you, and then I'd like to get your reactions about what we're able to do in the Max Money Club to be more organized and have presentations that are more interesting for a wider audience so we can grow the club. So I introduced this concept last week, and it does come from the book. I give attribution to Chris Brady and Orrin Woodward, who came up with a book which is one of the top-selling financial training books in the world. And their title of their book is Financial Fitness, the Offense, Defense, and Playing Field of Personal Finance. So I'm actually going through this book right now with a group that wants to become financially fit. And so I came up with a lot of the ideas. I started immediately seeing the relevance for what we're doing. I put this graphic together. I kind of found I had to search for a graphic that actually had 3 roads on it, not a jillion roads, etc. But the idea is that if you keep these things in balance, you personally, or even a business, I guess, if you keep the offense, the defense, and the playing field in balance, and if you keep those variables in mind, you're going to be much more successful. People that earn lots of money, but if they overspend, they're still going to be broke and they can still go bankrupt. We have a lot of illustrations of doctors and high-paying athletes and entertainers that make millions of dollars, but they don't manage their money and they still go bankrupt. Or people that win
lottery winners.
Yeah, people that win the lottery and then they go bankrupt. In fact, that's the most famous example because it's rare to have anyone win the lottery and actually be responsible with the money that they win because they don't have the personal habits or the structure in place to defend the money that they have. And then the playing field of money, this is why we're talking about ISO 2002, and we're talking about the SWIFT banking system and all the changes, because most people are oblivious to the playing field of money. But if you understand it, you can be ready for the changes, you can capitalize on that. So let's talk about each of these 3. And then I wanted to chew on this with all of you guys to find out how we could maybe apply it to finding good guest speakers and experts that fall into one of these 3 categories. So there's the offensive money. It relates to income and wealth creation. I'm sure that a lot of you have heard of Robert Kiyosaki with Rich Dad, Poor Dad or Cash Flow Quadrant. Most of his books have to do with what the rich understand about money that the middle class does not, or certainly that the poor people don't understand. And so his books are targeting the mindset of millionaires or people that want to make a lot of money, David Bach and others. It's all about different ways to earn money, earning money faster, earning more money, wealth, what the difference is between income, which tends to be money that comes in on a regular basis, versus wealth, which is your net worth and assets in the background. And often we talk about business owners, that how they can essentially create and add to the value of their business or their book of business. And then investors, how they can take money and increase, if they have money, how they can increase that money. That's all part of the offensive money. Defensive money, okay, budgeting and living within your means. Some people only write about this. In fact, most of the people that write about money don't do all 3 of these, which is why I like this curriculum and why I think with the Max Money Club, we would be well served to delineate these areas, talk about them, and let people know they're going to get a balanced education in money over time, because we're going to focus on all 3 of these areas in a rotating basis in some cases, or even maybe talking about 2 or 3 of them all together. on other topics and how these areas relate to each other. But the defense, people like Dave Ramsey, who came up with a program called Financial Peace University. He was a Primerica representative at first, and he learned a lot of his concepts from that company. Then he decided he wanted to go out of the company and create a program primarily for churches and synagogues and people of faith, but not necessarily. So now you can go onto his website and anybody can participate, but he had his kind of his start, I guess you would say, in the faith communities, telling people they need to be responsible with their money. And it's all about not living outside of your income, living within your means. Susie Orman is another very famous person that focuses on the defense of money. Key concepts in defense are creating a money plan, budgeting, learning how to do elementary bookkeeping, personal accounting, and tax reduction strategies, making sure that the government gets less of your money. Although in this area, it tends to kind of fall into things that an employee can do. Keeping track of the miles that you're driving or any business expenses that you make for your work, giving records to your church or synagogue or whatever. That it doesn't tend to look at tax reduction strategies if you're starting a business, which is why I like this particular program that Oren and Chris have put together, because it does focus on, for instance, let me go backwards. It does focus on the offensive money, because if you have a business, we all know you can have a Schedule C and you can write off all kinds of things that employees cannot. So that's another tax reduction strategy that you can do that does not tend to be covered by this type of expert, because they're focusing on the 95% of the population that has a W-2, that are employees, that they don't have a lot of stuff going on to earn income outside of their jobs. They're just trying to live within their means. And then the playing field of money is often overlooked by lots of people because they're more directly interested in earning money or keeping it. Macroeconomic factors tend to do with what's going on in the overall economy. Ludwig von Mises is a free market philosopher or economist, Peter Schiff, Murray Rothbard. Maynard Keynes is on the other side of the fence. He's the one that encouraged governments to print a lot of money and for governments to be in charge of the money supply. So if you want to know, whose ideas are actually fueling what the United States government is doing right now, it's probably Keynesian economics, Maynard Keynes' stuff. But a lot of people don't even, know about these guys or what their ideas are. They tend to focus on basic economics, supply and demand, gross domestic product, international trade issues, things that are going on. You think about the fact that, businesses are offshoring a lot of their jobs to cheaper labor markets, Mexico, the Philippines, Indonesia, China, you name it. Those are things that you talk about in this playing field thing of money, banking and finance and credit cards. So in this particular, because this is related to the Starfish program, which uses your own money and not credit cards, they beat up credit cards pretty hard. If you go back pre-COVID, credit cards were charging about 17% average interest before COVID. Now the average interest rate is about 23%, and new credit cards are coming out at 24%. So they were making tons of money before. Why the credit cards needed to continue to raise their interest rates, I don't know. I think it's because they can, and the laws allow them to do that. It is the most profitable aspect of banking right now. So the playing field, people tend to talk about things like this that help wake people up, because people don't get a proper education about economics or even personal finance in the schools. The Federal Reserve, where did it come from? How is it tinkering with the money supply? How does it relate to banking? And all of those things are part of the playing field of money. And I think it would be kind of cool to have an economist come in sometime and analyze what's happening in the United States right now versus in the 1940s and 50s versus, when the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, and somebody to give us a big picture of money. I think that would be interesting, or someone that understands really how banking works, how finance works, credit cards work. So how does it relate to the Money Club? And I'll end with this and then ask you guys some questions. Well, first of all, I think that we could organize our topics and our guests into at least those three areas of offense, defense, and playing field. Or We can also add, which I think should certainly have, the substratum, everything that kind of ties all this together. I hope that Dr. Sky agrees with me, is technology and changes in technology and cybersecurity, because that all factors into all of the stuff, those three areas that are mostly directly relatable to consumers that you see above. And then, of course, AI, crypto, and technology trends. We can look at it just as a user would look at those things, but we can also look at it as an investor or as a savvy money person would look at AI, crypto, and tech trends, because we can make money by staying ahead of the curve, in my opinion, on these different things, which is why that Ruby kind of intrigued me, because most of the technologies that are out there are not something you can make money with unless you're a user and you're using it to marketing, your own business. But there'll be others. There'll be other people that will come in and say, I've got this technology, something you can invest in or whatever, and then financial trends. So I guess my question to all of you guys is, do you like having sort of a balanced approach to what we're doing in the Money Club, and then seeking out guests and experts that fall into at least those three areas, maybe cybersecurity and some other areas as well? And I see Mike is first. Hand up.
Thank you, Greg. I'm going to assume that you're going to let me use this for AI podcast walking, and that I'm going to be sharing this on my podcast, and that people will be able to connect. I am in the Starfish Club. People will be able to connect with us if they're interested in the Starfish Club below the video. If they're out walking, I hope they are. I hope they're getting smarter, they're learning about AI, and they're getting healthier. So, do I have your permission to share this in AI podcast walking?
You do. I hope it helps to bring people to our Money Club. I think thank you for the free publicity. We'd love that.
Absolutely. And I'll put my link right below the video.
Yeah. Other thoughts or questions? And if you know people that, we could invite to come, that's kind of what I'm going to be doing is that way I can approach someone who's in one of those camps, including people that normally wouldn't fall into the crypto area, or someone that understands banking very well or whatever. And I could invite that person to come as a guest, right, on a certain topic. But what do you guys think about that?
Greg, say real quick if I can chime in. I think it will uniquely set us apart by having those three areas covered. I really do. That will give us advantage over all those people that you mentioned by name. And then that can also attract some of those type people by those names. So I think that's a home run in my opinion. So we can reach out to a lot of different people who would be interested in explaining some of those things. So good job.
Thank you. Adam, were you going to say something?
Yeah, definitely. I'll invite people. I mean, this is the program that I was working on for several years to get it off the ground and going. And I've gone through this book several times, and it's, a lot of what I base my day-to-day stuff off of right now. So I love Chris and Oren, that. I listen to their podcasts every day, sometimes 2 a day, sometimes 3 a day, depending on my workout schedule. So I think it's a great idea if we spend some time on this, and if we have even guest speakers that can come in and specifically speak on a certain thing, a certain topic.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I attribute my renewed interest in this to you, because you kept saying, you got to listen to those podcasts. You got to get into that stuff. And, when you look at like their podcast, which is if you have the Starfish app, even as a customer, most of you, even if you're not paying your $60 a month for that part, if you have the app, go onto the podcast at the bottom, listen to episode number 4, episode number 9, and on and on and on. They talk about so many financial topics in the macroeconomic realm, different things they're entertaining. They're only 20 minutes long each. They're fantastic. And it is, I think it would be nice to have a way where people could learn outside of this venue, right? So yeah, we're always coming up with YouTube videos that people ought to watch or this or that, but $60 a year to essentially have a financial education and the podcast, forget the cash back. If you got the $60 a year app and just listen to the podcast, you would get a university level education wrapped up in 20-minute segments. It is.
I would even go farther than that. You get like expert of some of the best leaders in the world giving you really good information. I listened to a podcast today when I was running called Going from Good to Great.
Mhm.
And I was talking about Apple and their entire process and what Steve Jobs had to do. And so again, if you've got Starfish, I would highly recommend just take 20 minutes to half an hour a day and just listen to at least one a day. And I'm telling you, it'll be the best 20 to 30 minutes you're ever going to spend, and just be in a spot if you can to take notes, because they're just going to be things that are firing off constantly. They're like, oh, I should do that. Oh, I should do that. Oh, I should do that. And it's just, that's why I listen to it. That's why it's actually gets me into my workout routine, because I only listen to the podcast when I do my workouts.
Yeah, that's a good testimony. And just so you guys know, what they do is it's not all their own wisdom. They are readers. They read hundreds of books, and so they basically give you very short overviews of some of the best thinkers and best books available in the world on a variety of topics. And so if you don't, even for people that don't like to read, well, okay, well, listen to their podcast. They're gonna digest and summarize a lot of the great ideas and some fantastic books. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I hope everybody is listening to Adam. He just had some great pearls of wisdom about, becoming great, and he used Steve Jobs. I'm a huge fan of Steve Jobs, and he talked at the Stanford University commencement speech that he gave before he died, that the key is connecting the dots. And even if it takes you off, the less than proven path, if you follow your heart and you connect the dots, that will be a winning formula. And for me, it's all about getting the right people to listen to the right podcasts. You can accomplish almost anything if you can get people to listen to the right podcasts that will connect the dots in all parts of their life for them, and keep them healthy, wealthy, and wise, and keep moving. So this is a great group. You're going to learn a lot. And I hope you enjoy and benefit from podcast listening and listening to the right podcasts. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. And we're running up. I'd really like to I see Dr. Sky. Would love to have you weigh in, Dr. Sky. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I was a little bit late for the meeting.
Okay.
But yes, good to great is wonderful. And I'm 100%. It's all about the people, right? Getting the right people on the bus, getting the right people on board. Are we all going the same direction or not? Right? And then the other cores of that are discipline in all facets of life. Right? Are we really watching CNN? Right? Are we really watching, Facebook 6 hours a day? Well, many people do. And that's where their mindset is going to take them today, tomorrow, and for their legacy. The critical thinking is as rare as a dinosaur today. And one of the reasons why is because of what is going on with the mass media. Right? Mike mentioned earlier about the mass media. The mass media is controlled by 5 or 6 companies, period. Whether it be Zuckerberg and Facebook, whether it be Google and the Alphabet Boys, whether it be Fox and Rupert Murdoch, CNN and Ted Turner. The point is, they control the narrative. It is up to each one of us to get out of the mass media narrative and to get on board with success. And that's true for the Max community, for every single one of our endeavors, respectively. But that Good to Great by Collins, masterclass. I've read it and heard it at least 5 times. Absolutely.
I like that. I'm going to appreciate that. I'm going to just end with one more thing. I am starting a financial fitness group, and I got the website. I couldn't believe I got it. It's financialfitness.team, and I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. You guys are welcome to visit. Here's what we're do. We're trying to give people a practical way to get fit with their finances. I would love to work with Heidi or anybody else that has programs that people that really, whether or not they're already doing well and they just want to move farther ahead, or they need to eliminate debt and they're struggling. Financial fitness is not just debt elimination. It's basically moving ahead with your finances. So I created this website, and you can see the little graphic there that I just went over with you. The 3 money secrets are offense, defense, playing field. The 47 principles are what we're covering. So we're actually going to be going through the textbook, and it's also in electronic form on the Starfish app. And if people click on Tell Me More, there's a little thing where they can just join the group. It's free to anybody for 30 days, and it's free to people who are Starfish members all the time because they'll have access to the course on that app. So if you know of any people that would like to pop in, let me tell you who's teaching the class. It's not me, although I'm an assistant instructor. Becky Estep Noble has been a credit repair specialist since 2007. I think when Heidi visited my BNI group, I think maybe Becky visited that week or the next week. Heidi, maybe the week after you came. But I know that Heidi also has a very interesting software program to help people reduce debt. What we're doing in this class is we're going through this book, and it also has a workbook, and people kind of write down their answers and they work. That's what we're doing, is we're working through systematically those 3 areas. And it's kind of like a Dave Ramsey type program, but we're not just covering cost reduction. We're talking about things that I think business owners would be interested in, like how do you earn more money, keep more of it, and then how do you understand the larger playing field of money. So that's what I'm working on. I'm having fun with it. And I hope it's okay if we start bringing some guests in here that fall into those 3 areas. Please make any referrals to me or Adam or Sky. And of course, sometimes we want Adam, Sky, or any of you to present. Mike's going to be talking about AI, and thank you for your focus on AI, Mike. So it's not that we want outside experts all the time. We want our own people to come in and do some sharing and teaching as well. But I think the outside experts, first of all, will bring new perspectives, new information, and we can tell people when they come and visit to put the word out on their social media channels that they're going to be speaking on such and such a day on the Max Money Club. Here's the info, here's the link. And I'm going to be using Ruby to start making little videos and things like that our guests could use to put out there on their social media channels to help build our attendance. Yes, Mike.
Where can we get the link to this Zoom meeting?
Well, if you
send it to me,
you just text me. It'll be a Loom. I'll put it up on Loom and I'll send you the link for it.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We're at the top of our period. Thank you for joining today. Next week, we'll have more updates from Dr. Sky and Adam and anyone else. Hopefully an AI focus from Mike. And our guest speaker for our first Max Sharks program will be Chris Booth. He will be talking about the Ruby AI program and, of interest to our club, how to make money with it. Okay. And we'll be putting them through the grill, right? Ask them all kinds of questions. Ask her, Dr. Sky, pepper him with, is this from Pakistan? Who owns the company? All the server stuff. We'll grill him and see whether or not it's worth it. If it, is it a scam? Is it a great program? Who's it for? Can you really earn money with it? And all that stuff. That's our first Max Sharks program. It'll be next week, and I hope you all can attend and bring guests.
So, okay, guys, thanks for continuing walking. We're having fun here, and I want to introduce another great guest to keep you walking and listening. The key to everything really today is getting the right people to listen to the right podcast, because we all sit in too many long, boring Zoom meetings, and Adam and I had a glitch today that we'll talk about that just shows another reason why trying to do synchronous meetings where you have to coordinate the time, and we got our times, confused and everything, and it cost us both time. We had to meet at the same time in the same place. We don't have to do that anymore. And that's what we're going to be talking about here on AI podcast talking and podcast listening. So without further ado, let me introduce to you my longtime friend, Adam Shirsowski. Adam, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, I've been working with Adam for a long time. We're friends through our Max Money Club, and we talked about Bitcoin and gold and all kinds of different things because what we really want you to learn about is your physical health, your mental health, your emotional or spiritual health, and your monetary health. You know, this is America. And now, Adam, with AI, there's so much confusion about what is going on in the world. And I work with the Oxford University narrative storytelling strategy that really created not only success in individuals and groups and people, but entire cities. So it's really, really powerful. It's very exciting. I'm going to be talking and lecturing over at Oxford twice coming up for what's called an open live case study. So this is exciting. And we're talking about narrative storytelling. So tell us the narrative story about you, your life with money, and you certainly have been engaged in all kinds of different businesses for quite a while. And talk to people to use their imagination, visualize it, because this is a podcast. We don't want them stuck in a room. They can watch whatever videos they want to walk to. So help them with their imagination. I know you love AI too. And you're an enthusiast and you've done some amazing things with it. So help me share with people while they're walking why they should continue podcast listening.
I mean, so kind of the latest thing that I've been doing, and I just kind of fell into it, to be totally honest, which is being a broker for specifically Bitcoin deals. And these are off exchange deals. So the buyers and sellers want to remain private. So that's why, you know, they have to have someone there to kind of facilitate the deals. And then obviously some gold deals have kind of fallen into my lap. And I've recently started doing oil deals, and that's called O farming. It's a pretty cool concept. The best part about it is that majority of the conversations can be done while I'm working out. So I get a lot of messages on my WhatsApp or it's done through email communication. And so it's just kind of you organizing and communicating and getting, you know, side A be able to talk to side B, and that there's no communication gaps and that everyone's clear on how the deal is going to flow. And so I've just really enjoyed being part of it. It's by all means, it's not easy when it comes to communicating with, multimillionaires or billionaires and getting them to agree on a certain price or a certain procedure. However, it's really rewarding when it does pay off, and it can be something that could be residual, and you could really start to solidify yourself as a leader in that area, and you can make quite a bit of money really, really quick at doing it if you connect with the right people.
Well, you mentioned one thing earlier and one thing just now. The thing you mentioned earlier was I kind of fell into it. Well, the dean of the Oxford Business School says the most important thing is synchronicity, being open to things. Like people could be walking, all of a sudden through synchronicity, all of a sudden they hear about Adam and what he's doing. That's synchronicity. You never know what's going to happen or who the next person that you're going to meet is. Now, the other one I want to ask you about, I've heard you talk about it, that you were working on and developing, almost like media capital, that you were putting together kind of a group around media, a kind of a block of media or communication. How's that going?
So are you referring to like advertising and marketing? Is
Yeah.
that kind of what? Yeah. So that's going well, for sure. And that's what I had been up to for the last year, maybe year and a half. That I really got sick and tired of paying these companies money and not getting results. And so I ended up, paying a lot of money to get taught on what they actually do in advertising and marketing, so that I could actually just take it in-house. Well, I guess what kind of transformed was I had all these people asking me if I could help them market. So I was, working on some different businesses and doing some different things with some different people. And although my training was more meant for, brick and mortar kind of that type of marketing, my background is a lot of online marketing. So I've really kind of adjusted the business model on how I got taught on to do more online stuff. And that's really what we're doing. So if it's leads that you need, if it's lead generation, if it's, converted lead generation, if it's, whatever it is that you need, if you need, more traffic to your website, whatever it is that you're kind of looking for. And, I go through a little bit of an intake form with people so that I learn their business intimately. And then once I've learned it intimately, then I can start to figure out if there's a way I can actually help them through my methods and my advertising methods that I've been taught.
Well, AI is changing everything. It's certainly changing media. In fact, AI is a form of media, and both online and in person. Now, one of the things that we are doing, we actually are helping the brick and mortar, the local retail restaurants and businesses in different cities to help restore them. And that's what the Oxford business strategy is really all about, is how to create sustainable businesses, cities, and individuals. And with AI, so many things are changing so fast. Tell us a little bit about your experiences and excitement about what you've discovered about AI so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're doing advertising and marketing and you're not using AI, I mean, you're missing the boat. It drastically reduces time. It gets things out of your head. You don't have to, you can have the idea, and depending on how you type it into your AI, it'll spit out ideas, and then you can kind of change it or adjust it on however you want, probably in a fraction of the time that people used to spend on that type of copy that they were doing before. So I would highly recommend, I've just started a new program. I've got rid of most of my other AI tools that I was paying for, and I started a new one called Ruby AI, and Ruby AI is just out of this world. I mean, I don't know of another AI program that's better than this one right now, and this one's the cheapest by far. So it's better and it's cheaper, and I mean, you can't beat that. And so I just think this one's going to explode all over the internet.
Well, cheaper and faster is vital in the era of AI. That's one thing Oxford talks about, is that there will be an explosion of new opportunities, but also, some quicksand that kind of makes jobs and even companies just disappear because you have to move very quickly. That's why I developed messages called AI audibles. Now, in sports, a coach calls an audible, a quarterback calls an audible when he sees something happening. Now, you mentioned Ruby, okay? That's like an audible, okay? Hey, there's a new website. Well, they're popping up so fast. It's like, okay, I was using this. Now we're calling an audible. We see this happening, so now we got to move fast, okay? So that's the key, is to stay light. That's why I love using things that are either free or really cheap. I use Google assets, things that are free, such as Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google PDFs, Google Sites, because you got to move fast. If you build a $1 million company in the era of AI, it can be like MySpace. I mean, it could just disappear overnight. So, let's talk a little bit about moving quickly in the era of AI.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing that AI does, is it helps you move really quickly. So, if you know how to type the right prompts into your AI, that will, definitely, get whatever's in your head, it gets it on paper. And once it's on paper, it's easy to edit at that point, right? But sometimes just getting it out, we have these mental blocks or whatever, or, it's just too much to do right now. I've got, a million other things to do. This just kind of gets rid of all those excuses, and like, puts this at the priority, because it's so simple and so fast to do, that if you're not doing it, you're missing out on your business. in one way or another, whether it's promoting it or, doing something critical in your business, this helps you, reach that critical spot, especially if you're doing any kind of online business, like, if it's a MLM or affiliate marketing or whatever it is, and you need leads or you need something to grow your business, AI is the thing that will help you the fastest. It's the quickest.
Well, let's help people. We are going to assume that they are out walking. So let's visualize with them what can be done, because when you are just stuck in Zoom meetings, your muscles are atrophying. I mean, your heart. I mean, these are things that you have to take care of. So you exercise. Now let's imagine that we are helping people create a holistic life around AI, and that they are out AI talking, AI walking, AI doing business. So what we want to do is encourage people how you can combine activities. Now think about this. Let's say you're out walking, you're up, you're motivated, you're energized, you're in a place that you like being, you're not grumpy because you're sitting in another long, boring Zoom meeting. And all of a sudden you're listening, you're learning from Adam, you're getting motivated, and you get a call. Well, you can sit on a bench, you can take the call, maybe it's from a prospect. But, I do big networking events, and I have for a long time, as you know. And that, one of the things that I've learned is people don't follow up. And that is critical. And that's how you can use AI to follow up. I'm creating the outreach broadcast network for people that are afraid to follow up. So, when you're marketing something, you want to help people to learn how to follow up so they become better marketers. So let's talk about how we're bringing and that's one of the things that AI does. You can take one thing that's very, very deep. That's one of the mysteries of AI. And I'm a lit major, okay? A minor, actually, broadcast major, lit minor. But I understand literature, and I understand what a muse is. Now, writers have a muse, okay? That's somebody that motivates them to write better. And AI is a great muse. You don't have to listen to it, but it is a reasoning invention. So you can take one thing that's really deep with AI, and you can go, okay, this is cool. And you can just use it to play checkers at that level. Or you can take another thing that is really deep, and you can combine those two things together to see what happens and solve the mysteries of life. That's when it's like three-dimensional chess. That's when it becomes super powerful. So talk a little bit about how we are combining all of these things together.
Yeah, so so if you're out walking, for example, and you just have a phone call, while it's fresh in your mind and you hang up from that phone call, you can log into any one of the AIs and say, write an email to respond to, and then put whatever points that really stuck out in your head. And then you can say, use this type of language or have this type of tone, and then see what it spits out. And, you could record it and go to some people have the note takers that are automatically connected, so you can get the transcript. And so when you get home from your walk, or even on your walk, you could basically take that note, copy it, throw it right into an AI, and say, summarize this call, and make an email that I can send for a follow-up. And then it'll craft an entire email for you, and then you can send it almost instantaneously, maybe even before you're done your walk. It's really that simple.
For sure. You can do it on your phone. All of this stuff on your phone. You can use, there's a couple of great ones that are perfect for the phone. One is Claude.ai, which I really love for the phone because I can also record on the phone. And another one is brand new from Microsoft, and that is called Copilot. And that is a woman's voice. So you can actually talk into the woman's voice, record a note to send to somebody. I'm Adam's assistant. And, he wanted me to get back to you immediately because he was very excited and he wants to talk to you right away. This can all be on your phone. So this is part of the change in the world. So, and I know, you and Dr. Sky Houston love working together and researching things, especially around money and the monetary system. So, any visions for the future that you'd like to share with anybody, or just recommend the Max Money Club?
Yeah, I would say for sure check the Max Money Club. A lot of cryptos are going to go up significantly, so now is the time to get into some cryptos. I wouldn't recommend any and all. I mean, be very selective. I don't mean to sound cryptic. However, that's what we do talk about in the Max Money Club. And if you want to learn more about the offense, the defense, and the playing field, even of money, which I've gone through that course several times, and it is from, two best authors, which is Chris Brady and Orrin Woodward. If you don't know who they are, you definitely want to check them out. They are premier leaders, and they have a lot of really good stuff and a lot of really good tools. But in the Max Money Club, we're really focused in on, how to maximize your money, how to make the most in your money, and really how to protect your money. So if you're not sure of, what the defense, offense, and playing fields are, I mean, definitely you want to come. We meet every Wednesday at 9 a.m. PST, 12 Eastern. And I think your first two visits are free. And then after that, there is a charge to join. It's not a whole lot. And
No.
if you want to get more involved, there's ways for you to get more involved too. And, if you want to take action and start, applying some of these things, then there's other ways to get involved. So I there's a lot of stuff going on with the financial markets. And I would say most people are completely oblivious to what's going on right now. There's a lot of changes about to happen. And I would just say make sure you're educated and you know what the changes are before they happen. You don't want to be reactive, you want to be proactive. And I can tell you I've been proactive for the last 4 years when I found out a lot of these changes in the financial arena are happening. Not are going to, or probably they are happening. And a lot of things have changed already, and a lot of people haven't even noticed that they've changed.
Now, Adam, let me run through all of the benefits of podcast talking and podcast listening. Now, usually they tell you, oh, keep it short, keep it tight, blah, blah, blah. Actually, the longer that we can keep people walking, the better for them, the deeper they learn, the more they learn, and the more people like you, experts with wisdom and experience, who have made mistakes and know which ones to eliminate so you can point out the wisdom, the more they can learn. And so if they have something they want to share, some wisdom that makes them unique or different, I would love to have them contact me. They can connect all of the dots right below this podcast. Just remember this term, AIBusinessNetworking.com. If you remember that, you will have all of the dots connected, all of the places you can go. It's like Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots backwards. You need experience to connect the dots moving forward. And that's what we're doing in AI Business Networking. So go right below this video. You can click to learn how to connect to Adam, the Money Club, CrossGroup Networking, AI Business Networking. And what we want to do is we want to help people connect with people who have abundance and affluence and can afford to work with them and can afford to hire them. So, Adam, thanks so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in the Max Money Club. We see each other every week, and we'd love to invite you there. Now, one of the things that one of my mentors, and I've had so many of them, like Bob Proctor says, to do a testimonial, the only thing you need is somebody to talk about you who's not you. Okay, well, let me tell you, folks, that I've been in meetings with Adam for a couple of years every week, and I've had an awful lot of chance to get to know him, to learn from him, and I want to give a great testimonial for him So we'd love to have you join us and learn more about the Max Money Club. So Adam, thanks for joining me, and remember to connect the dots, and I look forward to talking to you soon. All right, guys, now let's continue our walk wherever you're walking. Thank goodness that you're outdoors. You're breathing. I hope you're outdoors. You may be like me yesterday. It was pouring rain, so I went over to the gym and I walked around the gym. So the key is to get out and break out of these Zoom rooms and be able to network, but network in a way that you're not locked into time like you are in Zoom rooms or at a certain time and place. So I want you to keep walking, and I'm going to give you a big fat benefit for continue walking with your headset. And if you're not walking, get ready, because we've got some amazing things with the AI Super Campus, because we're doing some amazing things with Oxford University and other major universities. And we're doing podcast walking and podcast listening. The key is getting the right people to listen to the right podcast. And with me now is Ron Horry, as I said, of FinFit Life. And he's got some amazing news, another benefit for podcast walking and learning. So Ron, welcome. And let's talk to people as they're walking along and help them use their imagination. So, use words like visualize this and visualize that. And then we'll put the link so they can connect with you right underneath this YouTube video. So when you get back, or if you want to stop and sit down on your walk and click to talk to Ron, you're going to be able to do that. But the main thing is click right below the video. So Ron, thanks for joining us. And let's talk about podcast listening and walking.
Hey, sounds great, Mike. Thanks for inviting me.
So tell me about FinFit Life. Now, there's some real benefits to walking. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Mike. So FinFit Life, we're all about helping people improve their health. Number one, that's our prime movement. And then number two is build their wealth or preserve your wealth, especially in today's up and down economy, and also have a lifestyle to enjoy both. And so we really want to gamify the idea of moving, especially as simple as walking. So I love the idea of the walking podcast.
Well, let's cut to the chase. Your health is your wealth.
Exactly.
There's no moving van at funerals, so you can't take it with you. So, you've got to really focus on your health, number one. And now focusing on your health will pay off with your wealth as well with FinFit Life. So talk a little bit about the company, what the vision is, because we are visionaries here, and share with us the vision and how people can really benefit from FinFit Life and walking.
Okay, great, Mike. I'll keep it pretty short and a high level. So, you talk about health and wealth. We say that what is wealth if you don't have your health, and what is health if you're financially stressed? So we're the only company that combines health and fitness with financial services. So we want to gamify the idea of being healthy. So we give people rewards for physical activity. It could be as simple as walking. It's like a frequent flyer miles program. So as people walk, go to the gym is even better. They accumulate points. The points translate into rewards. Some of the rewards are gift cards to Amazon, Starbucks, also discounts with Expedia for resort travel. We have a special arrangement with them. People can get a free Fitbit or Apple Watch for $25 to track their activity. That's how we know how much activity they're doing. And then one of the rewards is in the financial services area. We have strategic partners, and one of the rewards is discounts on their life insurance premiums, which could be up to 15% or 25% discount. And if somebody already has protection with life insurance, we definitely want to review their policies, and most people haven't reviewed them in years. And in many cases, we want to make sure that as life goes on, people may have had kids, or maybe their kids are grown, so their needs change. And we want to make sure that they have the adequate amount of protection based on their current lifestyle. So
Ron, go ahead.
So basically, that's a nutshell of what we're doing.
Well, you mentioned something really important, that anxiety and stress is on the rise for a lot of reasons. The election, the economy, AI. Now, AI is really a meteoric rise. And like the dean of Oxford University said, who got his PhD in AI 30 years ago from Cal, we don't really know what's going to happen. There's going to be opportunities. There's going to be jobs that just disappear, and you really have to be ready. So with FinFit Life, you don't have to die to receive rewards and benefits. Am I right? So
Oh, exactly. In fact, we call it living benefits.
Talk a little bit about that. Explain that.
Well, I think traditionally most people think of life insurance. Well, here's a good example. My own quick story. I had life insurance. I was paying, probably for 15 years. And the only benefit I knew was when I died, my brother and my sons would get the benefit, the beneficiary, right?
Right.
When I met an agent, she said, "Ron, have you heard of living benefits?" I said, "Well, what is that?" And she said, "Well, it's life insurance, but you don't have to die in order to use it. So if somebody has, let's say, gets sick, or maybe they have a stroke, or they can't take care of their daily activities, they can actually accelerate benefits and by taking money out of their policy tax free to take care of illness. It could be long-term care and other types of issues." I said, "Holy cow, I never heard of this idea." So I switched companies and really realized that here's something that the average person is not aware of. And especially, as the senior population tends to grow, that's one segment that really needs to understand how they can protect themselves without having to pass away.
Now, Ron, you walk, am I right?
Oh, yes. Walking is part of my routine. I do kettlebells. That's my favorite indoor exercise. Yes. So I like to live what I teach.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. The benefits of walking are is that you are outdoors. You get to go where you want and look at things that you want. Maybe you want to walk through your city. Maybe you want to walk through country trails. Wherever you want to walk, you can walk anywhere and look at the things you want to look at and listen to the things that you want to learn about while you are walking. So that's why we want to really encourage people to think about that. If you're not currently walking, think about that. Think about putting on the headsets, taking your phone, think about the options of what you can learn and listen to. And maybe you're avoiding things like, dealing with your financial situation. Well, if you are out breathing and walking and not feeling stressed and stuck in an office somewhere, that you can actually face things, confront things that you've been wanting to confront in a way that you can breathe. It's not stressful. You can take it wherever you want. And that to me is one of the benefits, not sitting in another long Zoom meeting, but breaking free, breaking out. So look at it as a routine, and we're going to have different programs that you can take with you. Now, the key, two things. I hope you are out walking. If you're not today, maybe you will be tomorrow. So what I'd like you to think about, don't worry about taking notes. Just look below this video when you're done walking, and you're going to have the ability to connect the dots directly to Ron Horry and FinFit Life. So just remember this, aibusinessnetworking.com, and connect the dots below this video, and you'll be able to hook up with Ron and learn more and talk to him. Now, Ron, what's it like when people talk to you directly? How does it kind of start? Is there any fee? Tell me a little bit about that and what people can expect when they talk to you.
Oh, that's an excellent question, Mike. So usually, people may be curious to learn about what we do, how we do it, but our main emphasis is why we do it. So if I have, let's say, a phone call or a Zoom meeting, I call it a get to know each other session. Let's say if I had just met you, or maybe I didn't know you, but you connected with me, you learned what I do. I'd say, well, hey, Mike, tell me about yourself. What kind of exercise or walking routine do you have now? And, I would listen and say, well, in fact, some people say, well, I'd like to walk more, but I'm so busy. I got to take care of the kids. I'm after work. I'm really tired. I say, well, what if you got paid to go walking 15 minutes a day? And they all of a sudden they perk up and they say, well, how do you do that? And so I explain about the rewards points. And then I might transition to saying, depending, let's say if somebody's in their senior, let's say in their 50s or 60s, I might say, well, we want to help you improve your health. We make it a game. And also we combine health and fitness with financial services. So let me ask you, are you concerned at all about your financial situation going forward? So basically, I start the conversation by understanding where they are in terms of their health, encourage them to increase their activity, and then also transition to saying, what are your concerns? We want to help people not only build their wealth, but preserve their wealth, especially, during the pandemic, some people lost 20% in their 401ks or retirement accounts. So I want to, you might say, gently transition the conversation into saying, well, hey, where are you? Do you have any concerns? People might say, oh, I'm really well set up. I have an advisor, whatever. I say, okay, that's great. And then I want to ask and find out if there are any gaps in their protection. As I mentioned, a lot of people have not reviewed their insurance policies for 5, 10, even 20 years. So their protection may be out of date. They may not have what's sufficient. So basically, I like to listen first before I really make any suggestions. We have a very client-centered philosophy and culture. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I know that about you because I've known you for a long time. Ron is a longtime friend of mine. Now, if you are younger, let me talk to you about Ron and myself actually too. Is that if you're younger, you might be straddled with student debt, whatever. I don't know what your situation is at all. But I will tell you this, there's a big difference between knowledge and experience. Now, with experience, here's what happens. You have good experiences and you have bad experiences. Well, as you mature, you are wise enough to eliminate the bad experiences, and that's how you begin to develop wisdom. Now, Ron is at an age where he has a lot of wisdom. He's been through things, and just as I have, we all have at this point in our lives. But what I'd like to say to younger people is that you want to talk to someone with wisdom. Like Ron and I both tend to give fatherly type advice because we've been around, we have kids, you know what I mean? And so we like to think about, for me, it's all about, I have 3 kids. So for me, it's all about being a father and caring that my kids are prepared for the future. You can't live in the past. It's all about the future and being prepared. And to be prepared for the future, you need some wisdom. And, wherever you are, it's free advice. Check in with Ron, get some wisdom advice, some fatherly advice. He'll tell you what to do. One of my mentors, I got to tell you a quick story. And he gave me some advice that I kind of cracked up about. When I worked at NBC, I had tons and tons of mentors, amazing people. Well, one of my favorite, my friend, famous author Herb Gordon, said to me, Mike, I want you to start taking out savings bonds out of your paycheck. And I went, for a smart guy, that's the dumbest advice I ever heard of. Savings bonds, don't pay anything. I mean, very, very little. And he said, look, stupid, this is the relationship we had. You're not going to save anything if you don't have them taken out of your savings bond, out of your paycheck. Well, you know what happened? This was actually 50 years ago. And guess what? I still have those savings bonds and I'm cashing them in because they only collect interest. I just found them. I found them in a drawer after all those years. And I've got now on the face value, they were $25 bonds.
I remember.
But now they are worth probably $110, but that's not the point. What I'm going to look at, and if anybody has any advice, I'm looking at the collectible market, people who collect coins and things like that, 50-year-old savings bonds, who knows what they're worth to a collector. So you never know. And, it turned out to be some sage advice. Guy I absolutely adore. He's passed now, but I still love him. And, so, when you get some sage advice from somebody who's been around and they know what they're doing, like Ron, this is somebody, and I've known him, I cannot give a strong enough testimonial. Because in the age of AI, you don't know who you're dealing with. There's so many, weekend hucksters and, they're, don't really have experience or wisdom to offer, but Ron does. And so if I were you, I don't care what age you are, if you want some wisdom, and we all need some, in our lives, certainly, talk to Ron and he'll give you some good fatherly advice, some sage advice, and I know it'll do you some good. So continue walking and remember to hook up with Ron. His connection, we're here to help you connect the dots as you walk. So we want you to listen. We want you to pay attention and learn something. While you're walking, we have Dr. Bob Levine, who is an expert at walking and walking health. That's one of our podcasts, Walking. Keep your head up, look down the road, straighten up, because otherwise, if you're bending over while you're walking right into one of those walkers in your old age, and we don't want you to do that. So we want you to walk properly. We want you to listen to sage advice from experts like Ron. Learn as you are walking. And Ron, you've got some additional advice for business networkers that you're going to be sharing with us soon, because you're going through an intensive training about business networking follow-up. And you're going to share that with us on another podcast walking episode and
Yes, I'm
podcast
happy to do
listening.
that.
Share that with us. Share a little bit about that. Tell us what we can expect in another episode with you.
Well, I think business networking, like you mentioned, is the key, and AI is a whole separate discussion. But business owners have particular needs in terms of, let's say, they have a partnership, and I won't go into the details. We also want to address the financial areas that they may be lacking protection as a small business owner. And so, yes, we definitely want to address that.
Well, you're focusing on follow-up because, guys, your fortune and your future is in the follow-up. If you go to networking meetings, it's a nice ritual, and you're with friendly people. But if you're not following up, you might as well do something else, because nothing's going to happen without follow-up. A terrible thing happens, nothing. So you've got to follow up. That's why we are launching the AI Broadcast Follow-Up Network to help people learn to follow up. And we're going to talk with Ron about what he's learning about follow-up, and we're going to have a lot of experts. And we're really going to motivate you with YouTube and listening to how to develop your own podcast on YouTube to help you to follow up. So anything else you want to share with us right now, Ron, to help people stay motivated and keep walking?
Yes, absolutely, Mike. Thanks for asking. And especially when it comes to walking, one of the reasons it's to have, let's say, some type of tracker. It could be a Fitbit, it could be an Apple Watch. Is there's a difference between strolling and walking, and let's say power walking. So the idea is you want to monitor your heartbeat, because if you're just strolling along, just casually, that's better than just sitting in front of a computer. But at the same time, to maximize the benefits, let's say you go walking for 15 minutes. As you increase your heart rate, you can still walk and talk. In fact, you want to walk at a pace where you can still have a conversation. You don't want to walk so fast that you're running out of breath. But that increases, your blood activity, and it actually increases the health benefits of being outside. You can visualize walking. Let's say you're walking through a park or on a hiking trail, and you want to increase your pace, and that increases the benefits of the time that you're investing in your walking.
Okay, now that's part of being a peak performer, and that's great advice. I know Ron is a peak performer in service to his clients. He follows up, and he really takes care of them because he learns about communication and how best to be a peak performer. Now, when I say peak performer, what that means to me is to be a peak performer yourself. It's all about you. It's not about anybody else. It's about you. It's not about, we've all lost things in our lives. So it's not about what you've lost. It's about what you have left and how you can become the best you that you can possibly be with what you have as a peak performer. I care a lot about being a peak performer myself, and in my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, and yes, my monetary health, because that's part of living in America. You've got to take care of your monetary health as well. So Ron is a peak performer when it comes to customer service. Great tip for being a peak performer walker. And we want to help you to have tips. And no matter what age, it's all about cross-group networking, cross-age group networking. So Ron Horry, thanks for joining us on our walk today. And we hope you will join us again. Now, remember, we're going to continue with more because we want you to keep walking. Okay, keep on walking. So we want you to keep walking. We're going to continue with more, but remember to check under this video. Go to AI Business Networking. If you try to remember that, if you have no notes or anything, just remember AI Business Networking, simple. And you'll be able to connect the dots like Steve Jobs says. You can't connect the dots forward. You have to connect the dots backward from experience. And you'll be able to connect the dots with wisdom with Ron Horry. So check out the links below, connect the dots. Ron, thanks for listening. We're going to continue walking and sharing more valuable information here on the AI Super Campus. And Ron's going to be a featured speaker on the AI Super Campus. So stay with us. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Mike. Keep walking and stay healthy.
Keep listening.
Keep listening. Keep walking and keep listening.
There you go. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.